Tuesday afternoon, September the 5th, 2023. Wrote a book, Baseball's Top 5 Pitching List. Yearly leaders of every pitching category. Last video, I did pitching wins. Warren Spahn landed in the top 5 in pitching wins for a season 12 times. Number 1. Walter Johnson, number 2 with 10. And then I listed all the guys 5 times or more in the top 5. That was pitching wins. This video, pitching innings. Who landed in the top 5 the most innings pitched in a season? Landing in the top 5, combining National and American League players. Take all the pitchers in both leagues. The top 5 in innings pitched. Who was number 1? First, I like to tell you for the career numbers. Cy Young, 7,356 innings, number 1. Bud Calvin, 6,003. Walter Johnson, 5,914. Phil Niekro, how about that? 5,404. And Nolan Ryan, 5,386. Those are the top 5 in innings pitched career. For a season, you got to look at Baseball Reference and find out who it is. The top 5 right here. Will White, 680 innings, 1879. Of course, it's not modern day baseball. That was National League back in the 1870s. American League came in after the turn of the century. But according to Baseball Reference, he's number 1, 680 innings. They played ball back then. Charlie Wadburn, 678. Guy Heckler, 670. Jim McCormick, 657. And Bud Calvin, 656. All of these guys are in the top 5 for a season innings pitched. And it's all before the turn of the century of 1900. These guys are pitching every other day or maybe pitching every day, and they're racking up the innings for a season. Today's pitchers, 250. Well, how many innings for today's pitchers? Well, looks like they're in the right to 200, 250 innings. Very rare do you get 300 innings in today's era. 1980s, the high, 275. 1970s, you had some guys pitching 300 innings. Carlton, Niekro. 1960s, you had Drysdale, 300 innings. Whitey Ford. Koufax, 335 innings. Jim Bunning, Denny McLain. 1940s, well, you had the war years, but still you had guys 352 innings. Hal Newhouser, Bob Feller, 371 innings. 1920s, you had guys 300 innings. 1900s, those guys were in the 400 innings. And of course, before that, you had guys 500 innings, 600 innings. But who landed in the top 5 in innings pitched the most in a season? Multiple times. Do you know who? Cy Young, 12 times. Top 5. 1892 through 1907. 12 times, top 5, combining all the pitchers in baseball. 2, Warren Spahn, 10 times. 3, 4, and 5. Walter Johnson, Robin Roberts, and Greg Maddux, 8 times, top 5. Bob Feller, Randy Johnson, Justin Verlander, still pitching, Pete Alexander, 7 times. These guys 6 times. Al Spalding, Amos Rusi, Wes Farrell, Hal Newhouser, Gaylord Perry, Jack Morris, Roy Halladay, and Kid Nichols, 6 times, top 5. And the rest of these guys, 5 times. That's my cutoff.
For $100 million for 2 years, and GMs will always take.
Okay. My computer goes off. I have to turn it back on. Okay, got it. The rest of these guys 5 times. Bobby Matthews, Tommy Bond, Jim McCormick, Pud Calvin, John Clarkson, George Mullen, Dizzy Dean, Jim Bunning, Bob Gibson, Don Drysdale, Steve Carlton, Burt Blyleven, Jack McDowell, Ed Walsh, Bob Lemon, Jim Palmer, Carl Hubble. 5 times in the top 5. Notice Koufax is not in there because he had a short career. And the beginning of his career, he's not pitching as much. But toward the end, he was. But these are the guys that can lay the claim of pitching the most innings and doing it consistently. Cy Young, 12 times. He had 7,356 innings pitched in his career. That is a record that will not be broken. Because today, guys are 200 innings, 250 at the most. Let's say you took 20 years at 250 innings. If a guy lasts 20 years pitching, how many innings is that? 250 times 20. That's 5,000 innings. If a guy started his career and pitched 20 years and pitched 250 innings every single year, he would only end up with 5,000 innings. Cy Young, 7,356. So if a guy pitched 30 years at 250 innings, 30 times 250. You want to hear a stat? If a pitcher, let's say he's 20 years old, he pitches 30 years from age 20 to age 50, 30 years, let's say hypothetically, and he pitched 250 innings every year for 30 years, he would end up with 7,500 innings in 30 years. Cy Young, 7,356. Do you see that this is a record that Cy Young established that will not be broken? Because I just compared what it would take for a pitcher to come close and break Cy Young's 7,356 innings. How about Pud Calvin, 6,003? He was old school pitcher. How about Walter Johnson, 5,914? Phil Niekro pitched in the 60s, right? Phil Niekro. I've got him here in my book. When did he pitch? Phil Niekro. Yeah, I've got him down here. Yeah, 60s, 1960s for Phil Niekro. Let me look at his career because he's number 4 all time. I'll look him up on my baseball reference, all right? I'm interested to see, how does Phil Niekro pitch over 5,000 innings? Well, here's how he did it. He starts his career, yeah, I knew it, 1964, and goes through 1987, 24-year career. His first year, he's 25 years old. Listen to this. Phil Niekro pitched 15 innings. So it doesn't count that year. Second year, 74 innings. Not much, right? He's 26 years old. I think he's in his prime, right? Third year, 1966, 50 innings. His first 3 years, he has a combined total of 130 innings in 3 years. His first 200 inning season begins when he's 28 years old. 1967, he pitches 207 innings. But listen to this, Phil Negro. From 1967 all the way to 1986, which is 20 years. 67 to 86, 20 years. He does not go below 200 innings per year in 20 years. 200 innings every year for 20 years. That's 4,000 innings. But some of those years, he got 300 innings. 1974, 302. 1977, 330. 1978, 334. And 1979, 342. So he pitches basically 1,000 innings in 3 years. 330, 334, and 342. Back to back to back, 300. Phil Negro. Knuckleball, right? He had 302 in 1974. 1987. So last year he goes below 200 innings. Wow, what a career. So for Phil Negro, he's number 3 on the list, career. No, number 4. Cy Young, number 1. Bud Calvin, number 2. Walter Johnson, number 3. Phil Negro, 5,404 innings. And you know who's number 5? Nolan Ryan. Let's look at Nolan. You know, he pitched for 27 years. So he's the closest guy to going almost 30 years pitching. But what does he do? When he's 19 years old, he comes into the big leagues, has 3 innings. His first year, 3 innings. 20 years old, 134 innings. 21 years old, 89 innings. Okay, so the first 3, slow start. Then he gets going. 1970 all the way to 1990, about 20, 21 years. He's got triple digits in innings. He goes 131 innings, 152, 284. Then he hits 300 back to back, 1973 and 74. 326, 332. Slows down a little bit, 1975, 198 innings, just shy of 200. Then he goes 284, 299, 234, 222, 233. He's just a workhorse. Pitching, pitching, pitching. Slows down, 81. That was a strike year. 81, 149 innings. Picks it up, 250, 183, 232. Nolan Ryan has 2 300 innings pitched seasons. The rest are about 200, 250, 198. Listen to this. He's 45 years old, 1982. Pitches 157 innings. And then he ends up with 5,386. You know, he had 5,714 strikeouts, averaging more than a strikeout per inning pitched. Once every inning he pitched, he averaged a strikeout and more. Because he has 400 more strikeouts than innings pitched. 5,714 strikeouts, 5,386 innings. 27-year career. Pitches until he's 46 years old. Nolan Ryan. Those are the top 5. What do you think? That's what I got. That's what I did. I was curious to find out who landed in the top 5 in pitching categories. First one I did was wins. Second one is innings. What's next? Strikeouts. Who landed in the top 5 in strikeouts in a season? The top 5. Can you name the pitchers? I will get into that in my next video. Talk to you later. I'm out.